afternoon, good morning, good evening, everybody. It is Sunday, November 2nd, and you know what that means, maybe. It's time for the High Risk Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, checking out that main event, Jeremy Pierce. Welcome, one and all. You know you can check out the socials. Charismatic Creations on Facebook and YouTube, Charismatic_Creations52 on Instagram, and of course, the 215 on Twitter. And today's show, with Saturday night's main event going down tonight, and actually looks like a really good card, but alas, it'll probably suck because, well, Saturday night main events have been pretty ass as of late. A very special episode. That is what today's episode is about, when the companies bring you not a pay-per-view but a really well-built show that usually has a title around it. That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to look at the highs and the lows of them all and see how they're going today. But for now, you know what's next, so just go on and hit my music. All right, this list is very simple. These are the current best weekly wrestling shows. We start with number 5, TNA Impact. Now, yes, they're kind of hard to find. I think they're on Anthem channel, the company that owns them, but when they get things right, they usually get it right. And coming off of that goodwill from the last year plus, when they switched from Impact back to TNA, the shows up until really recently have been really good, and the crossover with NXT has helped them. Number 4, AEW Collision. Now, more often than not, Collision feels like a throwaway show. The matches, well, like a lot of professional wrestling, feel predictable, but you know you're going to get a lot of wrestling and storyline beats moved along, some more than others, but it is consistent in what it is, and more recently has been sort of elevated to a better, more consistent show on par with Dynamite. I still think AEW really misses Rampage. Number 3, Monday Night Raw. Yes, the OG of them all. For the most part, is a good show. You know what you're going to get. The one thing that always holds it back is it's so corporate. The advertisements and the commercials and the ads and this and that. But they have a formula that's been working for them since switching over to Netflix, and it has been doing well. Number 2, NXT. NXT does not have a name for their show. We have SmackDown, we have Raw, we have Impact. There's nothing for NXT. It's just called NXT. But even though they may not be the shiniest, the flashiest, they are still very consistent in what they do. And the biggest draw of NXT is that they usually end up getting most of their current roster that's being used onto TV, whether it's through vignettes, whether it's through backstage segments, whether it's using social media, and then acknowledging that social media, it is just very consistent at what it does. And of course, number 1, AEW Dynamite. This is the best show. You know you're going to get, first of all, the number one thing, you're going to get at least 2 bangers per episode, right? You're going to get the storylines that bring you in. You know you're going to get the promos that bring you in. You're going to get a well-rounded show. And ever since coming out of, I want to say, All Out of last year, Dynamite has consistently been the best show week in and week out, and has been elevated with the help of Jon Moxley and the Death Riders. Dynamite, for pretty much this entire year, has become a must-watch, can't-miss show. We'll be right back. The spotlight is back on, ladies and gentlemen. It is shining on one TNA. Now, if you all don't know, right after Bound for Glory, which is TNA's version akin to WrestleMania, they take a break. And it's weird sometimes, right? You build to your biggest show, and then you take a break for 2, 3, even 4 weeks. Now it helps, one, to let the roster heal and get ready for the comeback to come around, you know what I mean? But also you lose that momentum because you want to see what happens coming out of your biggest show. So now you have to spend a week or two reminding everybody what happened coming out of Bound for Glory. And that's where we sit right now with TNA. We leave with Kaylani Jordan as your Knockouts champion, who's not even contracted to TNA. She's an NXT wrestler, and she's already had a heel turn. The Hardys are your tag team champions, and they just lost the NXT titles to Temu Shield, right? Leon Slater is your X Division champion, and he's been on NXT holding it down for you. And of course, Mike Santana walked out of TNA as your new world champion, your men's world champion. So what's the follow-up, right? You have to do the work. What will they do? And you know there's going to be some roster turnover. So where can TNA pick things back up? You got to remind everybody what happened, and you got to really go hard out of the gate. The question is, can they do it? We'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are with a very special episode. Now, this episode in and of itself isn't special. I mean, every episode is special. No, this episode is talking about those, episodes of wrestling shows that are built up, that aren't pay-per-views, that are made to feel special. They come around every year, and some of them are annual that we look forward to, and others kind of just happen out of necessity. And that's what we're talking about. So why do they happen, right? So the first ones that are very obvious are anniversaries, right? Raw celebrates, being the longest running episodic weekly television show in broadcast history. Now, mind you, this excludes the nightly news and soap operas, because those are on like every day, every week. So they celebrate that. They celebrate the 5-year mark, the 10-year mark, the 20-year mark. Same goes for SmackDown. Or when you hit that episode numbers, we know when it comes to anniversaries and things and celebrations of numbers and milestones, we know what we celebrate. We celebrate, the 50, the 100, the 150, the 200, so on and so forth. So celebrating those are very, very obvious. Or when you break a record, like AEW celebrating becoming the longest running weekly television show on TNT, obviously besting WCW, which I know made a certain individual upset. And then you have death, and death in wrestling is nothing new, but there are times when a death is so shocking that it pauses the industry. I'm thinking back to the deaths of Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit, the death of Bray Wyatt. Trying to think, is there anyone else? Those are the really, really big. Oh, the death of Hulk Hogan, but he didn't really get like a super tribute episode like those other 3 men that I mentioned. So we celebrate their life and we celebrate their career. Then we have just a celebration for something or someone or something, like I talked about when we hit those milestones. And then lastly, there are ratings ploy, right? When we get into why they fail, when episodes can fail, we're going to get into that. But there are ratings ploy because when you build something up, right, the people are going to come and watch, especially if you make it feel special. So have we had some recent failures? Have there been failures over the years? Well, of course there has. Old school Raw, right? Old school SmackDown, I think that's what it's called. And the reason these fail is because they never go all in on the gimmick, right? So if you're going to, do this throwback episode celebrating the past, then you go all in, right? And when they have these episodes, it's nothing more than, hey, here are some legends. Let's have them interact with the roster and then keep it pushing, right? They never go back to using any old settings, any of the old sets, right? Fans would love to see the SmackDown Fist. They never go back to using any old themes. The wrestlers themselves don't go back to using old music, old gear, or old gimmicks. Imagine a throwback Raw and Bayley comes out to her hugger with her hugger gear and her hugger gimmick, or Randy Orton coming out with the blue trunks, the blue trunks, right, and using his old finisher overdrive. They also never use old finishers. You know what I mean? Imagine if Cody came out to the dashing gimmick. Never do. Let me go back to the death thing, right? I'd be remiss not to mention the Luke Harper Brody King tribute episode of AEW, because it's probably the greatest episode of wrestling ever. It was just real and raw and done perfectly. You know what I mean? It's everything. It's a death. It's a celebration. It's ratings. It does everything for a company, and there was no failure there. But back to old school Raw and SmackDown, constant failures. Hell, some of the legends they bring back can even still wrestle. They don't even have them do that. It's here's a legend, there's a legend, and then let's keep it pushing. Come on. And then you probably have, in my opinion, the worst episode of television this year for a wrestling show, and that was Raw's Netflix premiere. It just wasn't a good show. It was 3 hours, which is par for the course for Raw. That's fine. That is all well and good. But it opened up with The Rock and Cody making amends, so you ruined everything that happened the year prior. 3 hours, 4 matches. And they were average mid matches. There was long gaps in between the matches, the time. It was not a good show. And yes, people celebrated, but when you go back and look at it, it's like, well, what in the blue hell is going on here? You had Hulk Hogan promoting Real American Beer. He got booed. The profanity was edited out. I mean, we're on Netflix. And again, the show had 4 matches in 3 hours. And get this, the total in-ring time for those matches was 1 hour. 1 hour. You had 1 hour of wrestling on a 3-hour show. It was atrocious. It's about as bad as things can get for a show. Yeah, it did well in the ratings, but who cares? TNA's Feast or Famine is almost always fun until it's not, until someone gets that fired briefcase and someone's got to wear the turkey suit. And it can just be done really, really poorly. Imagine you get a briefcase that just says you're fired. Now, usually they use this to either A, write out a superstar who might be injured or who just needs a reboot, or someone's actually leaving the company. But it's still just a very, very bad gimmick. And it should not be done anymore, but they're going to keep doing it. More recently, NXT Showdown. This was supposed to be the big hype between NXT and TNA, the big fight, and it ended up being just an average show. They had their traditional Survivor Series matches, which were fine, and it really didn't amount to anything because there were still more things coming out of it. You know, we had Halloween Havoc coming up, we had Bound for Glory coming up, and this was supposed to be a culmination of everything that was going on between the two brands. And there's still stuff going on between the two brands, so the showdown proved nothing. And AEW, one of their anniversary shows in Philly, I was there. It was I think it was either the 5-year anniversary of AEW or an anniversary for Dynamite. I forget which one. But it was weak. Yes, I know there was a hurricane going down in Florida, but Tony Khan usually does a really good job of adapting. And what made the show not as good was one, the long JAS segment in the ring. Jeez, it went on for forever. And yes, you got to change the matches, but you had Keith Lee and Andrade backstage. They were in the building. That's confirmed, and you didn't put them in the ring. That would have got the crowd going. So yes, there can be failures. But then on the successful side of things, we have the WWE, and everybody has success. So they do things like present an hour commercial free, or they do, you know, the best of. But one of the big things that they do is the draft, right? The draft comes around every year, which I don't think it should. You know what I mean? I think it should be like every 2 years. But it works because it gets people to watch, right? And then you have the pre and post WrestleMania shows. Those, well, they were usually good. And then when the WWE noticed how good they were, they started advertising them and started leaning into them, which then in effort made the shows bad. And they've started fixing them over the last couple of years. For, you know, SmackDown, you've had the 9/11 tribute show, which all of us remember. You have Tribute to the Troops, which has been an annual thing up until a few years ago. Those were always something to very much look forward to, right? You obviously have your themed episodes, which another company does much, much, much better. And of course, the celebration of someone or something. Recently, in 2022, they had the celebrations of Randy Orton, John Cena, and Rey Mysterio, their 20th anniversaries of being in the WWE. So the WWE can always get it right, even when they get it wrong, and that's okay. And they're starting to do this thing because they're too lazy to give you more matches on a PLE. They will give you, usually on SmackDown, right? They will build that show up to have title matches. You know what I mean? The go home shows are usually built up, and more often than not, they're good. So the WWE can get it right. We've seen them get it right. I just don't want any more failures like the Netflix premiere, like the throwback Raws where they just don't do anything. You know what I mean? You can get better with it. They used to actually have King of the Rings on Raw, building up to the pay-per-view. So we have that. Then we move over to NXT, and NXT has very much been leaning into their special episodes. You know what I mean? Just this year in 2025, they've had They've had New Year's Evil, which has become an annual event, Roadblock, which is an annual event, Homecoming, which is an annual event. They've had Showdown, and they've had the Gold Rush. But they've also had Halloween Havoc, which they've now turned into a PLE. They have the Great American Bash, which is an annual event. They have Spring Breakin', which is usually an annual event. So they have these episodes that they build up as mini pay-per-views, and they almost always knock it out of the park. And they've even brought back In Your House, which is really, really good. Really, really fun. NXT has the talent to get away with doing that. So, throughout the year, you're usually going to get New Year's Evil, New Year's Evil, Roadblock, Spring Breakin', Gold Rush, Heat Wave, Halloween Havoc, and In Your House. You're going to get those every year in addition to whatever PLEs that they give you. So that's always a plus for TNA. For NXT. Well, speaking of TNA, total non-stop action, they give you those as well. So TNA has given us plenty of episodes, whether it's celebrating milestones, as in 50th, 100th episode. I remember when they went live for the first time. I remember the move to Monday night when Lord, they decided to go against the WWE head to head. Wasn't a good idea. And some of their well-known pay-per-views started out as special episodes, like Destination X, like Hardcore Justice, like No Surrender, like Turning Point, Final Resolution, Genesis. These were all pay-per-views. These were all episodes before they became pay-per-views. And every so often they give us stuff. So when they switched to Access TV, we got more. We got Rebellion, we got Emergence. We started getting these shows throughout the years that were celebrations, like Impact 1000. Cannot forget about their annual Thanksgiving specials and their countdown shows. The Thanksgiving ones are the ones that really stand the test of time, because that's where we get our Feast or Fired matches. So every so often TNA will give us a special episode. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we end with AEW. And AEW gives us a lot of special episodes every year. Starting with the inception of their company, right? 2019, we had Fyter Fest, Fight for the Fallen, Thanksgiving Eve. But Fyter Fest and Fight for the Fallen are two of their big shows that they try to do annually. I don't think we've had a Fyter Fest or Fight for the Fallen this year, but they usually do it every year. Fyter Fest usually has a gamer thing, and Fight for the Fallen is always a why can't I think of the word, a charity show, you know what I mean, for veterans, which is a great thing. Then we get things like their homecoming shows and the Dynamite specials, which they have every year. We get Winter is Coming, which is a straight up annual event every year. So if we go to 2024, right, because 2025 isn't over, we got, excluding Battle of the Belts, right, we get our usual roundup of Homecoming, Beach Break, Blood and Guts, Royal Rampage, Grand Slam, Title Tuesday, Fright Night Dynamite, Winter is Coming, Holiday Bash, and New Year's Smash. We get those every year. We know those are coming, and they're always built up, especially Grand Slam. Grand Slam has become like a mini pay-per-view. Winter is Coming is also built up like a mini pay-per-view. Title Tuesday comes from when they have to move to Tuesday due to baseball playoffs, right? But then you have your anniversary shows, which we get, and then you have those outside the box shows. So in 2024, we got Big Business, which was the debut of Mercedes Moné. In 2025, we had Maximum Carnage, which felt like it should have been tied into the Maximum Carnage games, but I digress. So we've had what else do we have this year? We had Spring Breakthrough, which we usually get every year. We've had Slam Dunk Saturday. We've had Summer Blockbuster. We've had the CMLL versus AEW Ring of Honor shows. We've had multiple Grand Slams. There was something else we had. September to Remember. We've had the tailgates. We always had the homecomings. And we've just had Friday Night Dynamite. We got New Year's Smash coming up, and we've got Blood and Guts coming up. So they like to give us these shows that happen outside of, I think we had Rumble by the Lake one year. I think that was in Minnesota. But AEW, because they only run 9 pay-per-views a year, and they have such a large roster, build up to special shows that feel like pay-per-views, and it works beautifully. We have Blood and Guts coming up. We just have Friday Night Dynamite. We got Friday Night Collision, and it works for them. When you have such a large roster with these companies, you got to be able to build up to something in between the major shows to keep the people involved, and AEW does a better job than most at it. Special episodes are needed for wrestling. Wrestling companies have large rosters, and you just can't keep building to a pay-per-view each and every week. You got to know how to split the time. And in WWE's case, they should really do it a lot more, because they've told us that they're not going to give us more than 5 matches on a premium live event. It sucks, but it is what it is. TNA does a great job at it. NXT and AEW do a better job at it than everybody. They know what the people usually want. So we've had here on the High Wrestling Podcast our special episodes, and the funny thing is, I really have never celebrated our big milestone episodes, 50, 100. This is episode 252. I did nothing for episode 250. I don't know why. It just didn't seem like a big deal to me. But the one thing that we do is the Cutters, which is our award show, and I can't wait to do that. The year's not over yet, so be on the lookout for that. But these things need to happen in pro wrestling, and I'm happy that we have them. And usually fans can look forward to something, or they have a show that they prefer. I know in NXT, fans look forward to the Great American Bash. They look forward to New Year's Evil, right? They look forward to Vengeance Day. AEW, we look forward to Grand Slam. We look forward to Winter is Coming. Those are the two really, really big ones, right? So I'm happy that we have these, and I hope you are too. But that is our show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Look on the screen what we got coming up. Got a good month of November going down for you. Check out the socials, Charismatic Creations on Facebook and YouTube, Charismatic_Creations52 on Instagram, and of course the 215 on Twitter. And as always, Anna J, Willa Nightingale, Chris Statlander, Priscilla Kelly, Ada Dawn, and Bailey. Holla at your boy. Peace.